Welcome to Cardinals Cover 2 with Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki. Cardinals Cover 2 is brought to you by Arizona Cardinals Podcasts. Visit azcardinals.com/podcasts. From Cardinals headquarters, here's Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki.
Well, it was better, just still not good enough. And here we are 3 weeks into the season, and the Cardinals are 0-3. Certainly not anything that anyone, MJ, expected here in 2018 with a brand new head coach. The expectations certainly were a lot better. Not to say that they can't reach those expectations, but to start off losing your first three, including two at home, is not good.
Yeah, we talked about this throughout training camp and the preseason, how imperative it was for this team to get off to a good start. You could flip a coin in week one. I thought they'd be more competitive. You got to give the Redskins credit with Alex Smith and Adrian Peterson. I didn't think they would win in Los Angeles against the Rams. They're a potent offense, and it's hard to slow those guys down, and just based on what they've done over the last 3 weeks. And then you figure out, okay, 3 out of their first 4 at home. You got to get some wins. 5 of their final later on the road, and we're talking, Green Bay and Kansas City and Atlanta and Minnesota, let alone division games. So didn't anticipate that, and I love the way they started yesterday. Had some rhythm on offense. We had some chunk plays over 20 yards to Christian Kirk and Ricky Seals-Jones. He found them wide open. Unfortunately, I only had 15 plays at the half, so you obviously can't go deep into your playbook. And then in the second half, the turnovers led to 13 points, and you got to play 4 quarters, and unfortunately, they just haven't been able to do that this year.
Yeah, the Cardinals have put themselves behind the 8 ball here with that 0-3 start. 16-14 the final on Sunday against the Chicago Bears. We'll get into all that here as we take off on this Monday. Here's what's ahead on the show. Josh Rosen, and more Josh Rosen. That's right, it is official. Rosen is in. Sam Bradford is out. What that might now mean for the Cardinals moving forward. We'll dive into that decision by head coach Steve Wilks. And, of course, your questions via social media later on in the show. Get involved using the hashtag CardsCover2. That's hashtag CardsCover2 using the number 2. All right, the news of the day, the decision has been made, and I don't think it's taken anyone by surprise, but let's hear from the head coach, Steve Wilks, on the news that Rosen is the starter.
I decided that Josh Rosen would be our starter going forward. Josh plays with a lot of confidence. I think he gives us the opportunity to be able to be successful. When you look at the situation when he went into the game, I didn't have a problem putting him in at that time because, again, I know he's very confident in what he's doing. When you look at the last possession when we got that fumble, it was about 11 and some change left on the clock. At that particular time, I had made the decision. They went on a 7-minute drive right there, so it looked like Josh was thrown in at the end, but he wasn't. So he can handle those type situations, and I think he handled it well when he went in, commanded the huddle, did a great job in moving the ball. We just, as an offense in the end, didn't work well together. Third down conversion, we couldn't come up with it. And then once again, just a protection issue there and giving him time to be able to convert. So with saying all that, I'll take your questions.
Steve, how did both quarterbacks take the news?
Sam Bradford is a pro, and he's going to do everything he can, all right, to help Josh out as he has before. And Josh, again, was excited about the opportunity, and I'm excited for him.
Much more on this move to come on the show, but an important distinction that Wilks made and I think kind of got lost on Sunday as we were watching Rosen warm up on the sideline. It was at the 11:23 mark when the Bears took over at their own 16-yard line. That was when Rosen started warming up, tossing to J.J. Nelson, tossing to Byron Leftwich, and then that's when the decision was made. And as you heard Coach mention, unfortunately, 7 minutes later, the Bears kick a field goal to go up 16-14, and all of a sudden now Rosen's thrust in there at the 4:31 mark where maybe realistically it could have been closer to maybe 8 minutes, 7 minutes to where he makes his debut.
Yeah, there was some speculation from the national media yesterday that the Cardinals were really going to give Sam Bradford the first half, and they were looking for a spark. Now, obviously, they got off to a good start. You want him to come out in the third quarter. But the turnovers, the 2 interceptions, the fumble, and it seemed like he was laying on the ground for like 30 seconds. And you could see at that point, he knew that, obviously I got to protect the ball. He didn't make any excuses. He's got to play better. But, at that point, so they were possibly considering, at halftime, but I think based on the flow of the game and how they came out, they wanted to give him another opportunity. And when I listened to Coach Wilks with Paul Calvisi, which he does after every single game, one word that stuck out: confidence. Now, I told you and everyone else last night on the postgame show, I thought Sam Bradford gave this team the best chance to win. I didn't feel like that yesterday. And when you talk about confidence, Josh Rosen has a lot of confidence. Now, he'll come down to earth a little bit just based on his production and his play. Sam Bradford is not very confident right now. So when I heard that, that was one word that stuck out, and they carried over again today in the press conference, and you could see why they made this move.
Again, more on the Josh Rosen era later on, but a couple of other personnel items that Wilks addressed on Monday. One, concerning the cornerback position opposite Patrick Peterson. According to Coach Wilks, both Jamar Taylor and Bené Benwickery will share snaps this week in practice, and then a decision will be made later as far as who will be the starting cornerback, because as well as Taylor played early on in that game, including a big open field tackle of Tariq Cohen to prevent Cohen from getting into the end zone, he did allow a late or second half 39-yard reception by Allen Robinson, and at that point he was benched and Benwickery came into the ball game.
Yeah, and it could be one of those cases where they wanted to see what he can do in another week. I thought we would see this last week. We talked about Benwickery and the Cardinals, and I know everyone's wondering, we're going to get into the latest on Hassan Reddick and Dale Buchanan, lack of playing time. But if you look at the Cardinals, again, they're playing a 4-2-5. Inside backers have been Hodges, and then you throw in Josh Bynes. They went with 3 corners yesterday: Benwickery, Taylor, and Peterson. They went with 3 safeties. Of course, the Bees, Bethea, Boston, and Baker. So that's who they are. And teams are going, 3 and 4 wide the majority of the time. And so you want to get your playmakers on the field. And I think it's just a matter of time before Benwickery takes over as a starting corner. You definitely need depth there. We know Brandon Williams is on the roster because of special teams. But it's not a surprise that Benwickery is active when he's playing. Has a nose for the football because he's played for Steve Wilks. He's played for Al Holcomb. He knows the defense. And now he can really focus on, watching film on the opponent, some of their tendencies where he's not spending as much time looking at the Cardinals film. He's doing it just because you got to watch the film and see, you got to make corrections. But he's further ahead in the process than a lot of these guys playing on defense.
Wilks repeated an often used phrase since he arrived, and that is the best 11 will play. And it was in response to, as you alluded to, MJ, the Buchanan-Reddick situation. Dale Buchanan played 1 snap on defense. Hassan Reddick was on the field for 4 defensive snaps. Here is Coach explaining exactly why.
I think as I just mentioned, from a competition standpoint, the one word I use all the time is trust. I want to be able to put guys out on the field that I trust, that's going to be able to execute and do the things that we ask them to do, and that's where it starts.
And until they regain the coach's trust, position coach's trust, they will find themselves on the sidelines as they did on Sundays. The Cardinals are now 0-3 on the season. As we take a look at what happened on Sunday at State Farm Stadium, as painful as it is, 16-14 is the loss. Although it did start off well for the Cardinals, Sam Bradford with a 30-yard pass play to Christian Kirk that converted a 3rd and 4. Lost on that play, though, a great blitz pickup by David Johnson. 2 plays later, Bradford finds a wide-open Ricky Seals-Jones. That's good for 35 yards and a score, and it's 7-0 early in the ballgame. Less than 3 minutes, the Cardinals have their first lead of the season. Defense comes up. Budda Baker and the aforementioned Benwickery combined to sack Mitchell Trubisky. It's a loss of 15 yards. Bears attempt a 46-yard field goal. It is wide to the right, and the Cardinals maintain that 7-0 lead. More good defense. How about Robert Kimdichie with the strip sack, and the ball falls loose right into the arms of Corey Peters as the Cardinals once again looking very, very good in this opening quarter. The offense able to take advantage. Sam Bradford with another chunk play. This time he looks for David Johnson out of the backfield, 21 yards, and just like that, it's 14-0 with 1:40 to go in the first quarter. The Cardinals' first 2 offensive touchdowns in the first quarter all season long. Bears, though, second quarter are threatening. Trubisky's pass is incomplete, but there's a penalty in the backfield. Marcus Golden called for roughing the passer, and that was an issue for much of the game. Robert Kimdichie was called for roughing the passer. There was Trey Boston getting called for a hit on a defenseless receiver. Cardinals shooting themselves in the foot. Another pass breakup. This time it is Jamar Taylor keeping the Bears out of the end zone. They kick a field goal, 14-3 at halftime.
And when it looks, you watch Taylor in those 2 plays, he had great defensive balls batted down. Again, you got to do it for 4 quarters, and as you mentioned, late in the game, he obviously gave up a reception, but there is some talent there. Again, more consistency you're looking for.
Second half is where it got ugly. Bradford gets picked off by Eddie Jackson, sets up Jordan Howard for a 1-yard touchdown run to close the deficit, 14-10. Next Cardinals possession, Bradford picked off, this time by Sherrick McManus. That leads to another Bears field goal, but back-to-back possessions, Bradford turns the ball over.
I thought the ball hit the ground. Obviously, anytime you have a change in possession, turnover-wise, obviously the booth's going to look at it. Unfortunately, the ball did not hit the ground.
Ensuing Cardinals possession, Bradford, after a couple of big pass plays, scrambles, fumbles the ball, got hit by Khalil Mack, and this is where the end was of Bradford's reign, as at this point the decision was made to make the quarterback switch.
Yeah, and again, seeing Sam Bradford just lay on the field, grabbing his helmet, knowing, and I'm glad he was able to get up. I thought maybe he was injured. He was not, and at that point in time, you could just see all the confidence went out of the room, in this case the stadium, and the way he started, you would have thought he would have been able to pick up on that.
Bears take the lead 16-14. Josh Rosen enters the ball game. His first completion is a 9-yard pass to Jermaine Gresham. His second completion, 10 yards to Christian Kirk. And then here comes the play that everyone is still talking about, and that is on 3rd and 2. Chase Edmonds in the ball game gets the ball, tackled behind the line of scrimmage. David Johnson on the sidelines will explain why, because news coming in this afternoon on why that was the case. 4th and 5. Rosen gets intercepted by Bryce Callahan, and for all intents and purposes, the game was done at that point.
Even though they made the stop and got the ball back, but obviously at that point you're trailing, they're pinning their ears back, and if you're Josh Rosen at that point, you're just trying to survive.
Bears take over, try to run out the clock, but Benson Mayowa comes up with the tackle of Howard, forcing the Bears to punt the football and give the Cardinals one last opportunity. Rosen scrambles, though, gains the first down, picks up 12 yards, but takes precious seconds off the clock.
Get out of bounds.
Leaving the Cardinals with very little time, so you go Hail Mary, try to have something positive happen. Instead, the pocket collapses, and so does Rosen as he gets sacked on the final play of the game. 16-14 is your final. The Cardinals now 0-3 on the season, and let's explain. David Johnson telling the media this afternoon that he was not on the field for that 3rd and 2 because of a mental mistake that he made on the previous play. Running backs coach Kirby Wilson pulled Johnson off the field. That's why Edmonds was on there at 3rd and 2 and not Johnson.
Well, it's good to know that. I mean, obviously, when you only have a certain amount of plays, and we talked about this during the game, people were wondering why Chase Edmonds was out there prior. If you watch the first 3 games, every 4th or 5th possession, they're going to give him a little bit of breather. He didn't need a breather. And that's one thing that I can appreciate about David Johnson. He's not a finished product. Now, Arians obviously rode him hard over the last couple of years, pass protection, route running, knowing your assignments, and he's still learning this playbook along with a lot of other guys. So one thing I like about David is his honesty. He's not afraid to say, I made a mistake, and I can tell you this, these mistakes were happening in training camp, and Kirby Wilson's not going to tolerate it.
You would just hope that there might have been a little bit more forthcoming last night and maybe even earlier today, just because of the buildup and the angst from fans and media alike about what was going on when your best player is not on the field.
Well, I mean, as a head coach, you're not going to throw your staff under the you're not going to throw them to where you're going to criticize them. And I asked him today on the 3rd and 2 play, where was the leakage? And he said, I'm not getting into individuals. We did not do a good job when it came to Chase Edmonds. So players appreciate that versus the last coach. Now, Arians always told us he would criticize the players before he met with us. So when we met with them, they already knew what was going on. you could see that you don't want to lose the locker room, and guys are on board with the decisions they're making. However, though, you want to make sure that you're telling your team what's going on here, but it's not confession. He doesn't have to tell everything in the media.
Absolutely. So 16-14 the final at State Farm Stadium. The two gentlemen that had the call of the game, Dave Pasch and Ron Wolfley. Let's hear from them in this edition of the 2-Minute Drill.
Time for another edition of the Arizona Cardinals 2-Minute Drill. Dave Pasch and Ron Wolfley. Well, Wolf, it looked good early on. Cardinals were up 14-0. Sam Bradford's rolling. I assume coming in they were ready to go to Josh Rosen if Bradford struggled, but he didn't. So it became a situation, well, after the first interception, do we put him in? After the second interception, do we put him in? But then the fumble happened, and it was clear it was time to give Rosen a shot. And he had some good moments, but obviously he threw an interception as well.
You know, David, at some point in time, right, offensive football has got to provide hope to a football team, and I think it was the right time to actually make that move. Now, I know that's crazy to think against the Chicago Bears and that great pass rush that they have in a pressure-packed situation like that, but to me, I do believe it was the right time to do it, believe it or not. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and he did provide a spark. That's what is incredible as well. The spark was there, and then all of a sudden he made a rookie mistake and turned it over.
The bright spot was the defense being on the field so long, only giving up 16 points. And the Cardinals can hang their hat on that we can still play good defense. We still have David Johnson, although he wasn't in for a critical third down, and that still gives the Cardinals a chance to win games.
Yeah, David, I mean, obviously the defense went out there and balled, only giving up 16 points in this game, but they still gave up way too much ground on the running game. I mean, to me, once again, the perimeter was attacked. The way the game started, they attacked right down the middle of the front seven. They've got to play better. They have to play better in terms of stopping the run, or this is going to be a situation where every team's going to come out, and that's exactly what they're going to try to do, is run the football, force the Cardinals to jam up that box, and then take some shots over the top.
All right, for Ron Wolfley, I'm Dave Pasch. That's another edition of the Arizona Cardinals 2-Minute Drill.
Appreciate that, guys. Craig Grialou, Mike Jurecki, as we continue here on Cards Cover 2. We'll get to your questions via social media a little bit later on in the show using the hashtag CardsCover2, hashtag CardsCover2, using the number 2. We're with you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday live from the Cardinals facility in Tempe, coming your way 3 p.m. You can watch live on azcardinals.com/live video. Also find us on YouTube. Just search Cards Cover 2. And, of course, if you ever miss a show, download it as a podcast via Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, or TuneIn. So the Cardinals right now in 2018 are one of the few unbeaten, or I should say one of the few winless teams in the NFL at 0-3. And now the question becomes, where is that locker room? How are guys feeling? It was something Coach Wilks addressed on Monday with the media.
My frustration as a whole with the team is we're 0-3, and I'm not pleased with that. Can we all improve? Yes, and I talked to the coaching staff about this from an offensive standpoint as well as defense. You look at time of possession. People want to say, well, the offense is not converting. Well, hell, the defense got to get off the field on third down and get the ball back to them. So it's hand in hand. Yes, we do got to convert on third down, but defensively we can give the offense more opportunities. So we're not going to sit here and start saying which side of the ball is doing this and not doing that. We're going to stay together as a team, and we're going to continue to find a way, all right, to win one game. The attitude is great. The guys are disappointed. They're down, but they understand right now it's still early. I was telling the guys right now in the first quarter of the season, teams are really still trying to identify who they are, and it's not so much about what your record may be, all right, because we've seen teams that start out early, whether it's 4-0, 3-1, and then all of a sudden that third, fourth quarter, we're not talking about those same teams anymore. So we need to find a way to finish football games, as we did not do yesterday. Opportunity to be able to start fast, get up on a team, execute well, and not finish is disappointing. And again, all the credit to, Chicago Bears, tremendous team, well coached, but I thought we hurt ourselves a couple of times with penalties at critical times. We're going to get off the field on third down, 3rd and 9, and they're going to punt the ball. All of a sudden we jump off sides, and it's 3rd and 4. And they're able to convert. So those things hurt you.
Now, I'll say this, back in training camp, maybe it was maybe off-season workouts closer to OTAs where Steve Wilks mentioned the strength of this football team, at least on the offense, was the offensive line. Obviously you're in shorts and you're not in pads. And I thought in training camp early on they protected Bradford, in the times he played. But I don't think it's a finished product. And John Wetzel was in place of Andre Smith. Curious to see what Smith's status is. I thought Wetzel hold up. I thought he did a really good job in the first half. Of course, you're not going to shut down Khalil Mack. I don't know if it's the strength of this offense, and it's a work in progress. I really like Ray Brown, the coach. I think Mike Upati and Justin Pugh got to do a better job in the run blocking game. And if there's one strength, it would be run blocking. And, again, we talk about David Johnson, lack of touches. He's got to touch the ball 25 to 28 times. And, again, that's rushing and receiving. So I want to see this team control the line of scrimmage, and I don't know if that's been the case for the last few weeks.
Well, you mentioned Johnson's touches, and you look at it, 12 carries and then 4 receptions. That's 16. That's still not enough, at least – in my opinion. I don't want to speak for you, MJ, but when you're talking about someone who you believe is the focal point of your offense, and that's what we were told all offseason and training camp, and he's just not involved in the offense like everyone expects him to be so far this season.
Well, again, and I'm not looking for an out, and there's no excuses. They ran 15 plays in the first half. They're averaging maybe 50 to 52 plays a game. Normally in the NFL, their defense is on the field 65 to 68 plays. So you're not having the same opportunities. But the way you had the lead in that game, it's the perfect scenario where you just line up and you say, we're going to win one-on-one matchups. It's all about execution, and we're going to run the ball. And if they want to drop a safety in the box, we're going to utilize play action. We didn't see a lot from Sam Bradford in play action in 3 games. That will change with Josh Rosen because of his mobility, especially when he wants to get outside the pocket.
The offense started on Sunday, touchdown, punt, touchdown. After that, there were 8 possessions. Punt, 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 interception, interception, fumble, and then Rosen entered the ball game, interception, and sack. Between the second and third quarters, the offense ran 22 plays for a total of 30 yards. Not good enough. Head coach Steve Wilks, again, made the decision. Josh Rosen is the starter, Sam Bradford to the bench. And right now, Wilks likes what he's got in Rosen at the quarterback position.
When you go through the draft process, particularly at that position, you do so much research. And you saw that. Everyone you talked about his confidence and his ability to be able to, endure tough times, being able to fight through tough decisions and difficult times that you're going to face on the football field. So his demeanor is what you want at that position. I don't think it's too big for him. And I'm excited once again to be able to get him out there and get him into a rhythm.
I know you didn't get a chance to see him for a lot of plays yesterday, but did you get an analysis of where he is as a player right now, or is that going to be coming as we go forward now?
I think you're going to continue to be able to evaluate that as you go, but, I think you can sort of tell yesterday with some of his throws and some of the accuracy, particularly being able to move the chains on that third down play. I thought he was pinpoint on all of them besides one, and I think Chad really slipped on that one that came out of his breaks. The one with the interception, late, that was good coverage, and sometimes, those things happen. But, for the most part, I thought Josh went in there and operated the offense well.
In what way specifically do you think he'll be able to help the offense?
Well, again, I just think just his mobility, being able to buy time in the pocket. I think he's accurate. I think he has a strong arm. I think he can put the ball where it needs to be. Inexperienced, yes, he's a rookie, so we're going to do a great job with the communication, making sure that, the offensive line and he are in, on one accord from a standpoint of protections. But that's going to be the most important thing right there, the communication.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. He does have a strong arm. You're going to see more splash plays down the field. And again, not so much the 40 and 50-yarders unless they want to throw to J.J. Nelson if he has the ability to get off press coverage. But the intermediate routes, yards after catch, I think Christian Kirk's going to be a great Cardinal. This is the future. We get to this point next year, it's going to be Rosen and Kirk. He's going to be the #1 receiver depending on what happens in the offseason. So he's accurate. Sometimes he can get in a little bit of trouble trying to throw in tight windows. He also has a tendency to hold on to the ball a little bit, but that's just natural for being a young guy trying to make the perfect play. Sometimes, I look at Jimmy Garoppolo yesterday, and you want to play for the next down. So in some cases, you were talking about his 12-yard run. Okay, obviously he's trying to get the first down, but you have to know down and distance. You have to know time on the clock. So these are things that will come natural. That's situational football. He's very intelligent when it comes to the game of football. He understands concepts of football, but there's going to be some growing pains. One play is going to wow you, another play you're going, what was he thinking? So it's a work in progress, but I do think they'll open up the playbook a little bit more because of his mobility, his accuracy, and his arm strength.
And the numbers don't always tell the story. Officially, he was 4 of 7 for 36 yards. Chad Williams got involved in the offense, something that we haven't seen so far. Perhaps that changes with Rosen as the quarterback, and, of course, the connection that he and Christian Kirk have going back even before their college days in high school. So there's some familiarity, and as was pointed out, now you've got a rookie center and a rookie quarterback. Not ideal, but certainly in the case of Mason Cole, and we've been talked about this a lot this season, the situation that he was thrust in was not too big for him. He played at Michigan, 100,000 fans on Saturdays. You saw that same situation for Rosen. It wasn't too big for him. He acted, and Paul Calvisi during the broadcast was commenting that Rosen was smiling. There was no fear, no trepidation, no nervousness. That he was ready for this situation, regardless of how much time was on the clock. It doesn't matter. He had a job to do, and he said afterwards, I didn't do my job. But certainly that if he can survive 4:31 on the clock, making his NFL debut, the rest of this season is going to be a piece of cake.
Yeah, I'd be smiling, too, if I know I was going in the game.
With Khalil Mack coming at you?
No, it doesn't matter. It's an opportunity.
That's true, yes.
I mean, he's been relishing this opportunity. We didn't think it would happen this soon, but hey, listen. Yeah, again, confidence he's got a lot of confidence, and I wouldn't say it's cocky or arrogance. He's confident in his ability, and he studied this game for a long time. He's dreamt about this opportunity moving forward. Yeah, I'd be smiling too, just getting the opportunity to be in an NFL game, knowing that he's prepared for this moment, and we'll watch it unfold because he is going to be the future quarterback. And again, you're going to have to put talent around him. And one of the things that we don't talk about is enough. Once OTAs are over, the veterans, they're off for about 6 weeks. Coaches go on vacation. However, the rookies stay here until late June, early July. And so not only can they do some stuff on the practice field, but they're also in the same meetings. Your rookie class you come in with, you become good friends with those guys because you spend so much time with them. So he's thrown to Christian Kirk. He's thrown to Trent Sherfield. Now, I would like to see Trent Sherfield get more reps than Chad Williams. Now, obviously, special teams plays a role. Williams has been in the league longer than Sherfield, but I would like to see Sherfield get an opportunity as a wide receiver.
Speaking of Christian Kirk, the man that probably knows Rosen better than anyone in that locker room, dating back to their high school touring days as far as the all-star teams are concerned, and then they went their separate ways in college. After the ball game, Christian Kirk stopped by and spoke with Paul Calvisi on the Arizona Cardinals radio network.
So Josh Rosen got the call before he went in those last couple of drives. I saw you go over. You had a little headbutt with him. You guys go ways back. Anything you used to share with him? Anything you told him before he went in for his debut?
I just told him that we got you. We're right here for you. And I told him, I was like, if you give us opportunities to go catch the ball, we'll make the plays for you from a wide receiver standpoint. And I just want him to know that he can trust in us, and that's one of the biggest things that Coach Wilks talks about is trust. And so we made it clear that Josh can trust us, especially going into that last drive. He's ready. He works just as hard. These past 2 weeks, even when he wasn't playing, you would have thought he was going in there to start. He's just so mentally locked in, and, he works hard at practice, and, that's just what he does. He's a competitor, and, you saw, today for a glimpse, he's just competing.
7 catches for you today. You felt like you got in a groove?
A little bit. Yeah, it's always nice, when you, getting those opportunities, getting those targets, and, you can get in a groove, and, I'm just, doing everything I can to help this team win.
Last question. Any final message from Coach Wilks? What do you think is most important right now?
Just sticking to us, worrying about us. There's going to be a lot of outside noise, but that doesn't matter to us. What matters is in this locker room and, having each other's back and going to work on Monday and focusing on being 1-0 next week.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
There you go. Christian Kirk, back to you.
Those 7 catches by Kirk came on 8 targets for a team-high 90 yards, and Coach Wilks on his coach's show on Monday afternoon with Bickley and Murata on 98.7 FM Arizona Sports Station said Kirk had, quote, separated himself. So I think we're seeing the rookie move up the depth chart as far as wide receivers. Now, Larry Fitzgerald is still going to be involved, although he wasn't much on Sunday, and I think that more had to do with his hamstring than anything else. But you've seen now the rookie take over quarterback, wide receiver, center position, Chase Edmonds as a backup running back. There's no wait and see. It's right now for this Cardinals team.
Yeah, and it seems like, on paper, this rookie class this year is going to contribute. And we're talking about starters now. You throw in Rosen. You throw in Kirk. You throw in Mason Cole. Change of pace back in Chase Edmonds. They didn't keep Chris Campbell. You look at Corey Cunningham. Yeah, he's been inactive on game day, but he's your future swing tackle. So quite the contrary from the previous staffs. They're not afraid to play rookies. And listen, next man up. Now, listening to Christian Kirk talk to Paul Calvisi, he does not remind me of a rookie.
No, he's.
I'm not saying he's a savvy vet because he's still learning what it's like to be a pro, but another guy that grew up knowing I'm going to play in the NFL based on what he did in high school, what he did at Texas A&M. He could have been a first-round pick. He does not sound like a rookie to me. And you could tell that he's excited about Josh Rosen just because, listen, nothing against Sam Bradford, but Rosen is going to be a little bit different when it comes to a lot of things we discussed here, and I think he's going to be one of the guys you're going to target.
And Rosen will make his first NFL start coming up on Sunday at State Farm Stadium when the Seattle Seahawks visit. 1:05 is the kickoff, 8:30 a.m. the pregame coverage on the Arizona Cardinals radio network. And if you want to know where to watch, listen, and follow the game, just go to azcardinals.com/game central for all your information and how you can follow along on game day as well. That's azcardinals.com/game central. Defensively, and we've been talking a lot about the offense, and rightfully so, considering the news of the day that Rosen is in and Sam Bradford now is on the sidelines. The defense did have its moments. You heard Coach Wilks a couple of times mention penalties. There were only 6, but the type of penalties when they occur. Chicago, 5 of 14 on third down. You got to be able to get the opponent off the field on third down or come up with a takeaway. But individually, we're seeing some guys step forward. Budda Baker, I think, had his best game, maybe even as a pro, especially defensively with a team-high 10 tackles, 2 for a loss, and a half sack. He was everywhere on the field.
Yeah, he's definitely made strides since week 1. In week 1, he's playing a little bit different position. Obviously, Matthew was in that spot. He was learning what it's like to take a receiver off the line of scrimmage. Where before, he was coming in the box, and he was obviously, he's a physical guy and willing to make a tackle in the open field. I've seen progress since week 1. And between him and Josh Bynes, looks like those are going to be the leaders when it comes to tackles. I think combined they had 21 tackles combined. So Budda Baker is a playmaker. You want to get him close to the line of scrimmage, but I definitely have seen improvement and progress since the opener against the Redskins.
And we also saw Marcus Golden make his season debut. Only was on the field for 12 snaps. He admitted in the locker room after the ballgame that he was on a snap count. He's coming off an ACL injury in week 4, so it's not a complete year yet, but you could see the energy that he provided on the sidelines. He did get called for that roughing the passer penalty, maybe a little bit more aggressive, and I understand there's some questions with those calls, but you have to know what the officials are looking for. But other than that, Golden is a major piece for this defense now.
Yeah, and I think as he gets in better football shape, that snap count could go up 20, 25, and then we get to October, maybe 35, and then he becomes more of a full-time player with the rotation with Benson Mayowa, who continues to do a good job. Chandler Jones needs to make more impact plays. The fact that Golden's out there, I think it speaks volumes with his rehab, but they're going to obviously start to use him more moving forward. Now, on the penalty, it looks like he got pushed. Now, listen, clearly the NFL is trying to protect these quarterbacks. Just ask Clay Matthews. And the other side, Kamdichi kind of fell on the quarterback.
He was stumbling. He didn't even know where he was on the field, and then just kind of fell into the legs.
I'm not going to excuse Trey Boston's penalty. The guy was down. There's no reason to hit him. Okay, I understand it's a split-second decision, but he was at least 3 to 4, maybe even 5 yards in front of that guy or going to approach him. I'm not going to excuse that penalty. But the other ones, they're very questionable. But we know the league is trying to protect the quarterbacks. I get the calls.
Basically, just don't touch the quarterback. That's almost what we've come to at this point.
Listen, it's a quarterback-driven league.
I know.
You got to protect these guys. Now, I don't want to get on a soapbox. Clay Matthews, that was a textbook tackle in the league. The fact that they even were on social media right after the play. I mean, he could have – that was a textbook tackle, shoulder, quarterback down, and he could have put more weight on the guy to hurt him. He chose not to do that. So, again, they're going to protect quarterbacks. You just got to know your role there, and if you get close to them, I know it's hard to stop on a dime like that, but you can't touch the quarter, especially above the shoulders and below the knees. It's like the strike zone in baseball, armpit to knee. It's not easy for these defenders, but they know what's going to be called, and they have to adjust. There's no argument there. You have to adjust if you're a defender, where you're there on the defensive line or you're in the secondary. That's just where we are on this point in the NFL. A reminder coming up, we do it every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here, 3 p.m. It's Cards Cover 2. Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki. We'll get to your questions via social media, hashtag CardsCovered2, hashtag CardsCovered2. In fact, let's do that right now. Let's have the Bird Gang sound off. And, yes, there are several questions, and a lot of it has to do with the offense and Josh Rosen. Let's look at Twitter. A user wants to know, now that Josh Rosen is the present, will the Cardinals look at trading Sam Bradford? First of all, who's trading for Sam Bradford in that contract? And I don't mean to be disrespectful, but the Cardinals went out and signed him, and that was the average, per average of a franchise quarterback, or at least a guy that was going to hold the fort down. So I don't think there's a market out there for Sam Bradford, and we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out because, it's a business at the end of the day. But I don't think there's a market out there for him. And now if a quarterback goes down like Jimmy Garoppolo, people are thinking, well, it'd be a natural fit for San Francisco. They brought in Tom Savage today. They're going to ride and die with C.J. Beathard. He was a third-round pick when they had Brian Hoyer on the roster. So I just don't see a market out there. I know things can change based on injuries. But at the same time, we'll just have to wait and see over the next couple of weeks who's the backup quarterback and who's inactive on game day. Yeah, that's an interesting distinction because Coach Wilks was asked a couple of different ways, Bradford or Mike Glennon, and he just said, we'll let you know whether Glennon would be active on Sundays, and contracts certainly could play a factor in that decision, whether it's Bradford or Glennon as the backup to Josh Rosen. Staying with Twitter, something we touched on already, but a user wants to know why Buchanan and Reddick only saw 5 snaps between the two of them. Well, in all honesty, they're both playing new positions. Reddick obviously played at Temple with his hand in the dirt. He's learning a new position, and they feel like they want to get the best 11 players on the field. They've maintained that. They go 3 safeties, 3 corners. Sometimes they only go 2 backers. And so they have to earn playing time, and right now they haven't earned it according to the head coach. And then as for Buchanan, unfortunately, he's learning a new role. Carlos Dansby bailed him out last year because Carlos has been a seasoned veteran making the calls. You got to not only make the calls, guys, but you also have to get guys lined up. And right now, Josh Bynes obviously has the advantage there. He's a 3-down backer. You normally don't see them taking him off the field. They'll take Hodgins out and bring in an extra defensive back. So they got to earn playing time, and according to the head coach, they haven't earned it up until this point. Yeah, he mentioned trust. I got to be able to trust being able to put those guys out on the field, and right now he just does not have it. Let's take a look at Instagram. User wants to know, how do you think Rosen will do now that he's been named the starter? And I think to continue on that, given a full week of practice heading into Seattle. I think they're going to open up the playbook. We know about his mobility. We know he's got a stronger arm, at least on paper, than Bradford. He's not I'm not saying Sam was afraid. I think Sam was trying to make the check down to keep himself protected. Rosen will take some chances down the field, not so much on a 40-yard pass, but the intermediate routes. You can use him in the shotgun. He has the ability to get outside the pocket like he showed on that 12-yard run. So they'll be able to use more of the playbook when it comes to Josh Rosen, and there's going to be some growing pains. You're going to have to live through some of this stuff just because he's a rookie, and teams are going to throw the kitchen sink at him. But he's intelligent, he's confident, and the players will gravitate to he brings to the table, and that is this guy wants to win football games, and I think he's going to show you he's not afraid when it comes to playing in the National Football League.
You brought up play calling. A user wants to know how offensive coordinator Mike McCoy might change his play calling now that Rosen is the quarterback. And, just continuing with what you said, you might see now something that Wilks mentioned on Monday is that Rosen is able to buy time. Those were his words, buy time in the pocket, whether that's scrambling outside, rolling, just using his athleticism and maybe allow those receivers now downfield to get open.
That could be a little dangerous, though, because the knock in college has a tendency to hold on to the ball, making the perfect throw. At this level, you go through your progressions, and if you decide to run, Mark Trestman did this with Jake Plummer. If he's rolling out to his right, you can cut the field in half. The receivers will start to trail to the sidelines. He has the ability to make that throw on the run. He has the ability to extend plays with his legs. So it's going to look a little different. I know they scaled back. The key is, though, the offensive line protection and getting the running game going, and that will open things up for Josh Rosen, Christian Kirk, Larry Fitzgerald, Ricky Seals-Jones, etc.
Yeah, the Cardinals rushing the football only had 53 yards on Sunday against the Bears. Last question, Instagram, could we see Christian Kirk get more targets after his performance against the Bears?
Well, I think he's earned it. I mean, this guy does not remind me of a rookie. I think you watch him get off the line of scrimmage, within the 5 yards, he gets open. There's separation there. I would like to see him use him more on crossing routes and yards after catch. He has the ability to catch the ball in traffic, and then he can take off and get yards after catch, because if you're going to be throwing these short passes, you need yards after catch. But I think he right now is the number 2 receiver on this roster. I think he's ahead of Chad Williams, Trent Sherfield, and J.J. Nelson.
Yeah, and of course, don't forget his ability on punt returns as well. Christian Kirk making an immediate impact here in his first year. Absolutely, and showing why he was chosen in the second round for the Arizona Cardinals. Again, those are the questions from the Bird Gang. We do it every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday towards the end of the show using the hashtag CardsCover2. Hashtag CardsCover2 using the number 2. Keep them coming, and we'll do it again on Wednesday. And Wednesday will be a big day. Josh Rosen will meet the media. The Josh Rosen era is underway here in 2018. That's going to wrap up this edition of Cards Cover 2. For Mike Jurecki, I'm Craig Grialou. Special thanks behind the scenes to Tim Delaney, Jim Omohundro, Devin Henry, Jeremy Schnell, plus Grant Greeley, Jonathan Hayward, Brandon Natus, Jesse Aranda, and Jackson Sipes. We talked about it. Josh Rosen, the time is yours. And we'll talk more about it with you here on Cards Cover 2 Wednesday afternoon.